Hey everybody, on today's episode, I've got Steve Bachtel here from Proof, and we're going to be talking about the process serving methods that Rentworks has just implemented into its business. You got to take a listen.
Welcome to the Property Management Mastermind Show with your host, Brad Larson. Brad owns one of the fastest growing property management companies in San Antonio, Texas. This podcast is for property managers by property managers. You'll hear from industry-leading professionals on best practices, new ideas, success stories, and lessons learned. This is your opportunity to learn about the latest industry buzz surrounding property management, as well as tips and strategies to improve your business.
As a property manager, it's important for your business and your bottom line to work with the right insurance partner. But getting the right coverage for all parties involved isn't always easy. That's where Steadily.com comes in. Steadily is the industry leader in landlord insurance, offering fast, affordable coverage online in just a few clicks. Steadily works with property managers nationwide to insure their portfolios of managed properties and provides guaranteed listing as additional insured with easy online visibility into property insurance coverages. With top-of-market referral fees, Steadily also helps you drive extra revenue per door while bringing tremendous value to your clients. That's why property managers nationwide rate Steadily 4.8 out of 5 stars. Find out how Steadily can save you time and help you earn extra revenue. To get started, visit Steadily.com/partners/PMM or email us at partners@steadily.com and mention that you heard us on the PMM podcast.
Pest Share, a pest control amenity for your resident benefits program. Starting at just $5 per door, you can give your residents the pest control coverage they need. Pest Share will even pay for the expensive infestations like bedbugs and cockroaches. End the debate over who pays for pest control, while Pest Share turns an expense into added revenue. For more information, check out their website at pestshare.com/property managers.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Property Management Mastermind Podcast. I am your host, Brad Larson. And today's guest, we're going to have a pretty interesting interview. His name is Steve Bachtel, and he's coming at us as the Chief Revenue Officer, which has always been my title, of course, the Chief Revenue Officer of Proof. Now, I had to get him on the show because we just had a demo with them this week. And as owner of Rentworks in San Antonio and Austin, we manage roughly 1,100 single-family homes in the region. And one of our issues or problems, of course, is non-paying tenants and or a method to properly serve tenants when we need to send them a notice to vacate. Now, I know it's called like 10 different other things in other states, whatever, but we're going to get into this with Steve, and Steve's going to talk to us about their services. And after the demo, I'm like, I got to get you on a podcast because this is really good stuff for our peers out there to look at and get into, because I think this is a really good solution. So Steve, if you could come on and give us a few minutes of your time in the introduction. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Love it. I love the title. I'm going to start calling myself the Chief Revenue Officer as well, because, you and I were talking in the green room, man, you just do one little thing in a property management company to create another $5 of revenue a year, $10 of revenue a year. Boy, it really adds up. And I know that's, not your whole gig, of course, with Proof, but give us kind of a synopsis of what you guys do as a company.
Yeah, so we would consider ourselves kind of the Uber of process serving. So if you think of what process serving is, for those who don't know, this is the delivery of legal papers. And we do that nationally. In fact, we're the only legal technology in the country right now that has a technology for serving papers. So we connect many times law firms, or in this case, property management companies, with process servers coast to coast. So if you need to have a delinquency notice delivered or an eviction notice delivered professionally by a process server, you can drop those documents into our platform, go out and we geolocate the nearest professional process server to where those papers need to go and get that job done. You get to watch the whole thing happen live time within the software. So you can see the attempts that are made, if there's any sort of problem. As you can imagine, sometimes there are problems when you go out to visit somebody in person. You get to watch that live in the software. When it's all done, we deliver back to you an affidavit, or what would otherwise be called proof of service. And that is what you can give to the judge if you're ever asked.
Yeah, so that's step one of any eviction, right? That you have to properly serve them, because we all know that tenants will walk into a justice of the peace and say, I didn't know anything about this. I never got service. And they claim all kinds of good stuff. So let me take you down memory lane a little bit. So we were reminiscing about this. I did this demo call with your team this week, and I went back to my team. I was sitting down with Melanie and Amy, and we were talking about the way we used to do it and the way we do it now. And just, there's a couple different methods out there. So to properly serve people, you could talk about doing registered mail. Okay, that's one technique. Nobody signs for their dang registered mail, right? Let's be realistic. I don't. So if I get a registered mail, little green card, I'm not dragging my butt down to the post office and try to get there before 6 p.m. to sign for something that can't be good. Right? Nothing good ever comes registered mail that I can think of. So that's one thing that it's a poor method to potentially do that. Yeah, I get it. It's air quote legal. You know, you can show that you sent it via registered mail. I get all that. You know, people are screaming at me on the podcast right now. And the other method we were doing years ago, this is really cool. We were paying basically couriers to come to our office. We would do this on the 4th or the 5th of the month, right? Whatever the first day after the rent was due. And we would have a pre-made up notice to vacate form, like a letter. And we would package it up in an envelope. We'd have a courier show up to our office. They would physically take it from our office and deliver it to the home. However, and the fun cost of that was $21.75. And I magically remembered that number. I don't know how I did, but I mean, this is 6-7 years ago we were doing this. And the point of all that is there was never any really good proof of service with that. And it always made me a hair nervous. Yeah, we had a little invoice from the courier that they signed off on it, but we never really had any solid, like, man, I would stake my life on it to be able to go into front of a judge and say, yeah, we properly served them. So I'm sure I'm forgetting 10 other different methods, and you work nationwide. You got any other methods that you see out there?
Yeah, and when you mentioned that $20, and you know, I guess the $20 is great, except for the fact that you didn't have any idea of whether it actually happened. So if anybody ever challenges that eviction, you could be in real trouble, and that trouble could add up to a lot of dollars because you didn't do the eviction properly. What we have found, and some of the very large property management companies that we work with have found that, yes, I mean, certified mail, it's kind of an escalating process, right? Certified mail has been a gold standard for a long time. A lot of folks have used it. And what is the success rate of certified mail? The next level above that is we can also do postings. So we're certainly doing that for things like delinquency notices. And a posting can carry some weight because someone's actually come to your door and they've taped something to the door. So it feels a little bit more serious. But if you're talking about actually taking action, having a professional process server arrive at the door, knock on the door, and hand you the paperwork themselves. And then in that affidavit, we describe who we met with, who we talked to. We geolocate where it happens. So you get a time and a date stamp and a geolocation stamp inside the affidavit. That's the proof that we provide back. That carries just far more weight than any of the aforementioned types of service that perhaps folks are already doing right now.
Yeah, and all that stuff is fantastic. We're all talking. I mean, I kind of got wrapped up in the whole legalities of this whole thing, the process of doing something legal. But here's the biggest reason why we're going to engage with your team to interject this process into our system is safety. That's first and foremost. I don't want to send any one of my staff members out to a home to post something on the front door on an eviction process, a notice to vacate for non-payment of rent. I don't want to send any of my staffers out there. Now, you can talk safety, you can talk all the other stuff, but that's the big one. Then you start throwing into the fact that you guys have all these cool features, the geocaching, the affidavit already signed. I mean, that is just rock solid proof that it was done correctly. And so number one was safety for me. Okay, the expense of it is a little bit more, and you can talk through that, and that's going to vary by region. You know, that's all fine and dandy, but the safety of it was a big deal because process servers, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are kind of trained in that, or at least you work with that. So talk to me about some of their experiences and how they become process servers and the safety methods.
Yeah, most states have a certification process, so you do have to go through some certification to be able to become a process server. The rest of it really does come with on-the-job training, and if you talk to the majority of the process servers that work with us, they will tell you about how they shadowed other process servers, the certifications that they had to go through. Many times they will work for a professional process serving company that gives them on-the-job training. But that training, remember, they're not just doing evictions. A lot of times these folks are doing, they might be divorce papers. It might be a restraining order that they have to go serve. The other thing that a lot of times happens, there are certain lawyers in the country who like to serve people like celebrities or politicians. We literally see that every single day. The president of the United States gets served on a daily basis. So, these are guys that just a couple weeks ago, we had a few folks that had to go out and try to serve a member of a popular rock band while they were on tour in California. And they sat and staked out the concert and hung out backstage afterwards to get these papers delivered. Those types of things happen. These folks have that type of experience. So when it comes to walking up to a residence and handing over eviction papers, they've been in situations before where if it got unsafe, they know how to de-escalate those situations.
Yeah, one thing I failed to mention too is, like, I'm focusing my mind on Texas in this conversation. Forgetting the other parts of the country, like in Texas, for example, we have to post that notice inside the front door, like inside the screen door, on the door. Obviously, it's better in person. And so I want you to talk a couple different things here. Talk to me about the service of what your process servers do. Like, I understand through the demo, and this is talking to your main guy, Daniel, that the process servers will actually kind of coach the people up a little bit. And so not life coach stuff like, hey, insert adjective here. You didn't pay your effing rent, right? But more like, yeah, this is a notice from RentWorks. I think it's about rent. You may want to give your property manager a call and get it squared away. There might be a little bit of coaching on that, but also talk to us about other parts of the country, how it might differ. And so this ties into your service perfectly because, one, they're doing a little bit of coaching, and two, they're going to adhere to the state regulations for process serving. Am I correct?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the really important part of this, right? Is that there are different jurisdictions have different rules about how you can go about this. Texas has rules that you can't post on a Sunday. And so a courier service might not know that. And so if you send this out with a courier service and they didn't complete all their work on a Saturday, and they might say, we're going to go ahead and just finish up this work on a Sunday, everything that just got delivered on a Sunday can't be used if it winds up going to court. So it's important to have a team that knows what the local jurisdictional laws are when it comes to postings or when it comes to eviction notices. From a coaching up standpoint, certainly the process server doesn't want to have to give any sort of legal advice. That's not what their work is, but they can certainly say, these are important papers that you need to respond to, and they can certainly mention where it's coming from. We have the ability within the tool for each one of our clients, it might be you guys, to type in what type of information or how the process server, how you'd like the process server to go about delivering the papers. So if you say that you want it between the doors, if it's a double door, you could put that in as a special request, and that goes out to the server as well. So if you'd like them to say something specific, like these are papers from RentWorks, we could do that. We could include that in the special requirements.
One of the questions I had with Danny doing the demo was, okay, what papers are you serving? Are we sending you something hard copy? Are we uploading a letter, something like that? So talk us through the actual physical notice to vacate letter. Like, what is that and where are you getting that from?
Yeah, so these will be your legal papers, right? And my guess is that most of the folks that you work with already have these types of papers drawn up. They probably have, their lawyers have reviewed those papers. That's not the part of business we'd like to get into. So we are taking the papers that you already have designed and ready to go. You literally just drag and drop your documents into our software platform, and that's what arrives at a FedEx. We have a national agreement with FedEx. Printing, so that can all be printed confidentially. We have a confidentiality agreement with FedEx. The process server goes to their local FedEx, picks up that information, goes out and delivers it. But they are your papers, the papers that you've already created.
I thought that was really cool because obviously we have a form. I mean, every management company has a form they fill in. They put the address in there, they put the non-payment of rent checkbox. Here's the amount that's due, and then they drag and drop. That's really cool. So you're talking, I was talking to Danny about this. I'm like, let's say we have 25 non-payments of rent. We're going to send out 25 notices, but honestly, we may only file one eviction every other month. Our eviction rate's pretty low. And we try to, I know I'm being kind of soft, right? You're all going to laugh at me, but we do try to actually get the folks to pay rent first. I mean, that's our whole objective. And we get people forget. Like I've forgotten payments. Everyone here has forgotten payments. And I can just imagine them getting these papers, these notice to vacate papers, and the husband and wife looking at each other like, I thought you paid the rent. No, I thought you paid the rent. Oh, okay. Well, we better go pay rent. And so those are specific. Now, the cost of this, right, that's got to be deferred to the tenant. And this is where, it's not necessarily, you're not trying to make money on this thing, but, if your cost is X, you need to buffer that cost a little bit and charge it to the tenant. And, if you want to be Mr. Nice Person, you could do a late forgiveness policy of one time. You can give them a one strike type of a deal, because this is a good opportunity for you to talk through your costs so people understand, okay, there's a lot of good features to it, a lot of benefits, but it does cost something. So hit me with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can go to proofserve.com. That's the website, proofserve.com. And our pricing is there. So if you were to click there, you could type in your address, you could type in your zip code, and you could find out your local rate. Nationally, we have a couple of standard rates. One is for postings. So if we're just going to go posting, as you can imagine, that just takes one visit, right? So we can go out, we can post the papers, take that photograph, geolocate it, and walk away. That's $45. For personal service, our standard rate across states, and it goes up a little bit or down a little bit depending on the state or the location, but it's $85 is the standard rate across the country for personal service. That's across 7 days, 4 different attempts. So, if someone's trying to dodge this or isn't home, we will make attempts in the morning. We'll make them over lunchtime. We'll make them in the evening. We'll also try once on the weekend. So if the server has to go out a few different times, that's why the rate's a little bit higher.
Remember that commercial, Where's the Beef? In property management, you could say, where's the profit? You want your business to grow, but it feels like you're just spinning your wheels. We get it, because we've been there. If you are ready to do something different in 2022, then head over to thepropertymanagementcoach.com to find out more about coaching programs and what they can do for you. Mention that you heard this ad on the Property Management Mastermind podcast and get $250 off any coaching program. Again, the website is thepropertymanagementcoach.com.
For our perspective, though, I want to be clear. I mean, really, postings is what we need. Property managers, we're not really serving people with, trying to properly serve them. That's our attorneys. They take the notice posting and they go file the eviction. Then it's up to the constable and everybody else to serve the tenants from there. So that's not our gig. So I don't want people to hear 85 and they're like, oh, I can't afford it. 45, whatever. I mean, it was funny. Danny and I were talking about that, and he's like, yeah, there's certain markets like that you just can't service because you're so spread out. And so you're just going to have to go to the website and check it out. But let's say it's 45 for RentWorks for fun. Or maybe it's 48 or it's whatever. Property management companies out there, listen to me. All you got to do is charge a little bit extra and then charge the tenant. And it's the tenant's obligation to pay it. So it's going to be their gig to pay that. And so this pays for itself times a little bit. And, we talked about revenue in the beginning of the podcast jokingly, but it's not a moneymaker, gang, but there is enough there to cover the costs. And this is professionally done. And it's our job as property management company owners. I've said this for years, property management companies doing good property management. We take marginal tenants and turn them into good paying tenants, because when they get one of these letters to their door on the 5th of the month because they didn't pay rent, that's probably going to be enough deterrent that they're going to continue to pay rent on time from there on, realizing they know they can't get away with it. Now, I interrupted you. You were going to go a little bit further into some of that comment. So please continue on.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, one of the other positives, and this was a learning opportunity for me because, we have been working with law firms before, and we have a large property management company in Georgia who was doing postings with us, and we're literally talking thousands of postings a month. And what they were noticing when that affidavit would come back is that many of the process servers in that paragraph were giving them descriptions of what they saw when they went to go do the posting. And in those notes, it was saying things like, it looks like the property is vacant, or no one was home and the furniture's gone. So imagine how much faster you can have your perhaps eviction process run if you have notes that say, oh, we were doing a delinquency notice, but it turns out the tenant had moved out entirely. They were just gone. So now
That's
all of a sudden,
awesome.
you don't have to go through the eviction process because they've self-evicted. And that just sped up your time to putting someone new in that unit.
Well, that's really cool. I mean, here's why. So you mentioned they peek in the window just by accident because it's wide open, and they see no furniture, no cars in the driveway, nobody's home, lights are off. It's 5 p.m. whatever. That's rock solid proof that you can immediately take the property back. So we would not necessarily have to do an occupancy check. It would be smart to do one, of course, but that could be an occupancy check / change the locks all at the same time. Versus like a knock, is anybody home? And then 2 days later, you change the locks. And then 2 days later, you start to make ready. So that really does help the property management company because now you have a means to get a proof that the tenant moved out, right? It's one thing that you heard from the neighbors, but now you have a process server under an affidavit that says when they were there, nobody was home and no furniture in the property, which would lead us to enter the property. And again, I'm really digging in the weeds. I mean, how often does this really come up? But you got to get these processes down, and you cannot put your team members at peril when you have professionals that do this for a living. So let them do it. And this is fantastic. I really love it. I mean, I'm glad we got a chance to talk here about this. So what else you got to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, that's where that speed to service really was a nice ROI. I think that the other ROI is just the seriousness of that posting. So you have somebody who's professionally going out, posting this, and then you get that proof back. So the fact that you're getting with every single one of these, and again, the one account, the one client of ours that does thousands of these a month, they are getting back affidavits that include photos and geolocations on every single one of these. So it's rock solid. If they're ever challenged on any one of these, they can go back into the system, they can pull that document and show the court proof that it actually happened.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a pretty easy time implementing this. I tasked one of my staffers to do another demo so they understand it, and then we can interject into our process. It's always been, we've used a local attorney for a long time, and we've been doing the postings with the certified mail, and I just don't think we're getting a fast enough response. And it has nothing to do with the attorney, right? The attorney's fine. When you hand them, a golden nugget on a silver platter, then they'll be fine with the eviction process. But you got to get them to that point of handing them the silver platter. And so it doesn't really matter necessarily who does the postings. We could do it. You could do it. But again, I go back to the safety thing and the cost effectiveness thing and the windshield time thing. I mean, I would rather pay you guys and your professional team to do this right. So we don't have to try to document it, and then we look like we're trying to do something weird. It's just irrefutable when you hand this to an attorney. They take exactly what you've done with the affidavit, and then they can go file an eviction if you need them to file the evictions. Now, a lot of folks can do their own. We get property managers that do their own still, but recently there's been a trend where non-attorneys have been getting kicked out of the JP, right? So this has happened to us where one of our property managers, Ruby, she got kicked out of court because she was not an attorney. The judge, probably newly appointed or elected, said, I only talk to attorneys, get out of here, and kicked her out. So it's getting weirder and weirder to do evictions. And that was the other thing that we want to talk about, because you're kind of seeing the entire spectrum, right? We had pre-COVID, and now we have post-COVID, and we had during COVID where we had the eviction moratorium going on. Anything pop up in your mind that you want to chat on just from the trends you've seen the last few years?
Yeah, the courts are starting to catch up. So within COVID, the courts really did get backed up. So a lot of these cases got backed up, and some of your listeners might even be struggling with that right now because they're just waiting to get a court date. But what we're finding is that those court dates are starting to ramp up. And we're starting to see a lot of volume grow. So obviously evictions are kind of, there was the moratorium for a while, and that shut things down. Now, of course, things are starting to pick back up. So the volume has only increased. So I imagine you have some listeners that are having to deal with that volume. And your point about windshield time, maybe they don't want to take this on themselves. Maybe they just need a little bit of extra help, and maybe they just need it for a while. We can maybe fill in while they play some catch up.
Yeah, at any scale, this works. Whether you manage one home or 10,000 homes, at any scale of your business, this completely makes a lot of sense to me. And again, we're taking it on because I think it's a fantastic service, and it's just one less thing that we can take off of our plate. Because I think we were doing it okay, but this is a big improvement, in my opinion. So I'm really excited to be doing this. So to wrap this up real quick, go ahead and give us the best way to get in touch with your team to get a demo and start the process of getting this implemented into their business.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brad. So you can go to proofserve.com, PROOFSERVE, proofserve.com. Right from the main page, you can go ahead and sign up. So there's just a button for sign up. There is no cost up front, right? So you can go ahead and sign up and just have it at the ready when you're ready to go. We are transactional. So if you do a job, we send you an invoice. And that's really all there is to it. You can also ask for more information. It would just be info at proofserve.com. Certainly mention the pod, and we would be happy to give you a free serve for listening to the pod.
Cool, man. I should be getting all kinds of gift cards for that, right? I got a freebie on the show. So I understand also your team's going to be out at NARPM National coming up here in Las Vegas, and by the time this publishes, it might be after the fact. But you guys are getting into the single family residential space a bit more, and we're hoping to see you guys at the Property Management Mastermind Conference there in Nashville in March. Haven't made a decision yet, not twisting your arm. Maybe I should put the hard sell whammy on you while I got you on the show, but I'm sure you guys got to take a look at your budget and your schedule and make a decision from there. But it's really good to see you guys come into this space because I think it's a needed solution.
That's great.
It's just, I haven't really seen anything that works this well. This is really exciting. Who thought you'd ever get excited about process serving, right? But it's one more thing that we can take off of our plate and do well, and we can show people that we're doing it well. And we are the professionals at this, so darn it, we need to improve at every turn. And we've been doing this for 10 plus years, so it's good to see this come to market. Now, real quick, can you name drop any big players that would be like, oh wow, you guys work with them?
Well, if you're familiar with Conrex, Conrex is one of our very large customers that we're working with right now.
That's cool. I'm sure you got lots more, and I think you're going to add a few more from this show being published and then get a few leads. So, Steve, hey, my man, really appreciate you coming on. It was a cool conversation, and look forward to staying in touch with you here in the future.
Thanks a lot, Brad.
Property Meld is a smart maintenance coordination solution proven to turn maintenance headaches into profitability. Our maintenance coordination hub connects all property management companies' key players in one location, providing maintenance oversight and efficiency to property management maintenance teams. Our solution streamlines communication throughout the coordination process, resulting in the oversight and efficiency property managers need to create a profitable maintenance operation. Property Meld delivers property managers with a positive maintenance experience. Check out more information at propertymeld.com or reach out at info@propertymeld.com.
This has been a podcast episode by PropertyManagementProductions.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us feedback, and come back for our next episode.